Part of the interruption, but I'm Frank Isola. Hey, Tony, NASA told Congress that there's no evidence of an ancient civilization on Mars.
I'm Tony Kornheiser. You know where else life couldn't survive? Anywhere near Uranus.
Oh, boy.
Come on, this is funny.
I
know it's funny. I do. I know it's funny. And if Will Bunn was here, he'd go, ha, 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 and he'd ruin the joke.
It works.
It kills the joke.
It works.
It's a funny joke. Anytime you use the word Uranus, funny. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. Will Bunn couldn't be bothered, so I'm joined by a great friend from the New York Daily News, Mr. Frank Isola.
Hey.
And we begin today with the Chicago White Sox bailing water and the Yankees standing there with a bucket. The White Sox traded Todd Frazier, who had 40 home runs for them, and solid reliever David Robertson for a bunch of prospects. The Yankees, who were thought to be years away at the beginning of this season, are going for it right now. Frank, does this trade make the Yankees a legitimate contender to win the American League?
It absolutely does, and you're right about going for it. They've played one playoff game since 2012. Not good enough if you're the New York Yankees. And what they're doing now, their starting pitching isn't very good. They're trying to use the model that the Kansas City Royals used a couple of years ago.
Relievers.
When they won the World Series.
Relievers.
They were 12th in the American League in starting pitching. The ERA was 4.5 runs a game, but they had the best bullpen.
They started in the sixth sometimes, and they got guys who threw 105 miles an hour.
And that's exactly what the Yankees think. But they're even talking about maybe bringing Dave Robertson in earlier than the sixth inning. They might turn it into a 4 or 5 inning game.
Well, then they'll use him like Andrew Miller was used in Cleveland. Look, like you, I grew up in New York. I'm a lot older, though, and I remember the entire George Steinbrenner era. And George Steinbrenner went for it all the time.
That's right.
He would always trade tomorrow for today because he felt that the New York Yankees should win all the time. This move sort of bothers me.
Why?
because the Washington Nationals, a team that I really like now, need a closer. Robertson could have been that closer. But then the Yankees go out. They get Frazier. He bangs home runs. They get nothing from third base all season. They're going to get home runs. They now have Aaron Judge and Todd Frazier in the middle of the lineup, and there aren't many teams in the league that have 2 home run hitters like that back-to-back. This is a very big deal.
Yeah, their corner infield positions don't hit at all. Their third baseman this year, 4 home runs. That's last in the majors. Over the last 3 years, Frazier has hit 91 of them. So they're getting they needed the pop. Plus Greg Bird, who was going to play first base, he's out for the season with ankle surgery. This was a move they should have made, and I'll tell you what, you got to go for it, especially in the American League East, which is wide open.
I think the American League East is loaded. I think that the team at the bottom, which currently I believe is Toronto, is about 10 games ahead of everybody else who's in the bottom of their particular division. With the Red Sox and the Orioles were a playoff team last year. Big move for the Yankees. They shore up a bullpen because Aroldis Chapman is not having the year they expected him to have. Big move by the Yankees.
But Betances has been great. By the way, you mentioned Steinbrenner. How would he be with one playoff game since 2012?
He'd be miserable, but with a trade like this, he'd be on the back page for the rest of the season, and that would make him very happy.
He certainly would be. All right, so while the Yankees are all in on being a playoff team this year, the White Sox are more focused on 2019 or maybe even the year 2020. Since trading Chris Sale to Boston in December, Chicago's other team has acquired through trades 7 of baseball's top 70 prospects. That includes 22-year-old Cuban defector Yoan Moncada, who was included in the Sale trade. It was a Sale trade and is expected to make his debut tonight. All right, Tony, you confident that what they're doing here, stockpiling all these prospects, that it's going to work?
I mean, I don't know that I would use confidence as my main word. There are 2 examples that you look to here. One is in basketball with the Philadelphia 76ers, who tanked and said, trust the process, and they were rewarded with a lot of overall
And everybody thinks it's great.
Well, a lot of overall number 1 picks that they wait years for them to actually get on the court. And everybody in Philadelphia says this is the year, and so far it has never been the year. If I were a baseball team, I would look at the Houston Astros, who were very, very bad, put together a bunch of prospects, homegrown team, and within 5 years went from absolutely terrible to playoffs and are now probably the best team in the American League. I would hang my hat on that.
Running away with it. But here's the thing. You mentioned it. So you go back to 2011, the Astros, 56 wins, 55, 51, 70 before they got to 86. And during that span, their attendance dipped under 2 million. So now if you're the White Sox, you have the Cubs across town, the more popular team.
By far.
You have 81 home games. So you're willing to say, all right, for the next 2-3 years, we're going to be good. We can.
You're going to be bad for 2 or 3 years.
But that's
very
my
bad.
point.
Yeah.
You have to. How you
like
draw
it. I'll
fans?
tell you why I like it. Because I think the Cubs, and I'm glad you brought that up. The Cubs are like the Mets in New York, and they're like the Angels in Southern California. They are by far the second team. Much of what they do goes under the radar, and they really have to win to get anybody to show up for any really solid block of time. If you put together a good winner, if you're homegrown, if you look at Theo Epstein, why should he get all the credit in Chicago? If you play this game, depending on your general manager and your scouts, and you win, you will be rewarded.
And Moncada, by the way, in AAA, batting .285, 12 home runs, 36 RBIs, 102 strikeouts, and 309 at-bats.
That's a lot.
That's ridiculous. He's going to have to do a little bit better against Major League pitching.
That's a lot. Chris Bryant, speaking of baseball, became the latest baseball star to hurt himself sliding headfirst today. The reigning National League MVP hurt his left pinky sliding into third base just this afternoon against the Braves. Now, the other day, Carlos Correa had surgery after originally hurting his thumb on a headfirst slide into home. Earlier this season, Mike Trout, best player in baseball, went out for 6 weeks after hurting his thumb sliding headfirst into second base. Yankee manager Joe Girardi brought up the idea of banning headfirst slides a couple of weeks ago. Frank, should baseball do that?
Banning it.
Should they do it?
This is part of the sport. Guys get hurt when they play. Maybe we'll place everyone in bubble wrap and they'll never get hurt. It's going to happen. Now, if you go back...
Wait. Buster Posey got hurt badly, and that alone changed whether you could block the plate.
But that's also a collision at the plate. So it's natural. Let me give you a guy. 1,400 stolen bases, 2,200 runs. Major League all-time leader in both. Ricky Henderson. Guess what he used to do? He would dive. So what happens? Pete Rose. That's the way that he plays. I get it. You go back to Ty Cobb, Jackie Robinson, Maury Wills. They went in feet first. But it's instinctive for a lot of the players to do that. I think the managers tell their best players, try to avoid it. But in the moment, the heat of the battle, guys that's how they play. You can't take that away from them.
There are things that are done in sports all around the world, including football in the main, where they say this is a safety issue and we're going to implement it. I think people will talk about this. I have two objections to it. One is, a lot of times you see people trying to beat out an infield hit to first, and they dive because they think they get there faster, because nobody slides into first the other way. A pickoff move, you always dive back.
That's right.
I assume that if they change this rule, they'd have to exempt pickoff moves. You'd be allowed to dive back. I'll go back a million years to when I was in Little League.
We have video of that.
Yeah,
they'll run it.
We have grainy video. It's not real video. The better athletes, the faster kids, slid head first. I wasn't good enough to slide head first. I did it the traditional way because I thought if I slid head first, I wouldn't make it. I'd be like 2 feet short. But I think this is an instinct play, and I think it'd be very hard to ban it.
I want you to go find some old-time baseball guys like Goose Gossage.
Oh, no,
Ask
they would
them
hate
about
this idea.
not being able to
No, they would hate that. But they're Neanderthals, and they hate every idea.
He only sprained his pinky. He didn't lose a finger.
Yeah, but
it's day to day.
Correa and Trout are out for a significant period. Look, I think we could both agree. If this was not Bryant, Correa, and Trout, we would not be having this conversation because they're big stars. Because we cannot go even one day without talking about Lonzo Ball, we give you Magic Johnson on Lonzo Ball. Quote, if he's getting triple-doubles in the summer league, he is going to get triple-doubles in the regular season, unquote. Frank, are you as convinced as Magic that Lonzo Ball's summer league statistics will translate into the NBA's regular season?
It's amazing. It's a recent phenomenon. Summer league has been going on for a long time. But now, because Lonzo Ball, granted, we all care about what he's wearing on his feet and the way that he's playing. Everyone went crazy. Now, he is a terrific player. And there are going to be a lot of nights where he does get triple-doubles. I think it's going to happen on a consistent basis. Guess what? When the NBA regular season starts, he's going against NBA-level competition. A little bit different, summer league to the NBA regular season.
I understand that. I mean, I said yesterday on the show that the answer to all your Lakers questions is Lonzo Ball, that Magic Johnson has wrapped the entire team in the flag of Lonzo Ball.
They're back, as everybody says.
If he stinks, they're dead. Okay. Here is what scares me about this, because I think he's really good. I think it's the closest thing to Magic Johnson in years. I really do. I think the hardest part of a triple-double for him is going to be the 10 points, because he's not necessarily an offensive player. But I am informed by something I watched in Washington, D.C. in another sport 10 or 15 years ago. Steve Spurrier had the greatest passing offense in all of college football, leaves Florida, and he goes to the Washington Redskins, and he brings this ballyhooed offense. But he underestimated the closing speed of regular season NFL defenders. And as you say, Lonzo Ball's not playing against Steph Curry and Kevin Durant out here. So there's a period of adjustment that he's going to have to go through. And I think the great fear with Lonzo Ball would be, wow, against great NBA players, he's not great.
They're going to make him shoot. So when he first, next season, he's going to have to prove that he can make a three-point shot in an NBA game.
That he can even get off a shot that he takes from the back of his head and turns like that.
Late in the shot clock. Let me give you the names of some of the MVPs from Summer League before. Tyus Jones. You had Let's see. Nate Robinson has been the MVP.
Okay.
Glenn Rice Jr. So
okay.
listen, there have been, and now Damian
Blake
Lillard
Griffin was one though.
All right,
And
Damian Lillard won. So it doesn't necessarily, translate. But I do love this in classic NBA fashion. They named Lonzo Ball MVP. They gave him the award. He didn't play in the final. It fit right in with the theme of last season. Don't necessarily play. We'll still give an award.
Well, but there's another. He's already a full-blown star. He has not played 1 minute. He's a full-blown star. And you can argue that other people are better in that draft. You don't even know who they are compared to Lonzo Ball. Magic Johnson says this because he wants to build the hype machine back into the Lakers. It's smart.
I was in Vegas for LeBron debut and also Kevin Durant. Lonzo Ball was bigger. A lot of it had to do with the father and the sneakers. Maybe you heard about that. All right, the NBA, which last week reduced the number of timeouts.
Isn't he wearing everybody else's sneakers?
Exactly, that's part of it.
Is he doing that?
All right, so the NBA, they reduced the number of timeouts. They announced that they are increasing, of course, the number of uniforms for its 30 NBA teams. They are throwing away tradition and allowing the home team, which traditionally wears white, to pick any of its core uniforms or additions. That's what they're calling it. And the visiting team will select a contrasting one from their collection. All right, Tony, you're a fashionista.
No, you have me confused with the other guy.
The
other guy is the fashionista.
This is right up your alley.
No.
Do you like this change?
Again, and I reference this a lot, I'm very old. So I remember of the phrase home whites, which always applied to baseball. But I also remember it's been many, many years since football allowed the home teams to wear the color uniforms that they wanted to. Civilization did not perish. I mean, we're okay. So I'm okay with this. I have a couple of caveats. What scares me about it, and by the way, I think that some teams are going to design white uniforms that are going to look great and they're going to wear them. What I'm fearful of in basketball, which just thinks it's too cool for school all the time and wants to be known as the hip, innovative league, is that they'll end up with soccer-type uniforms where the advertising will be all over the chest and you won't even know what team is playing. That I would not like that. Color, fine. I don't care.
It's headed that way. The WNBA wears the ads. The D-League, now the G-League does. It's funny, but you mentioned the jerseys. When you take the Metro home today, you're going to be on the train.
I don't actually take the Metro.
You've been on the Metro.
I have been on the Metro. Yes, that is true.
And there'll be kids wearing all kinds of jerseys. So now they have 4 to pick from.
Well, this is why they do it. You do it to sell product. That's the reason you do it. You have all these new colors to sell product. But are you offended? I'm not offended by it.
No, not at all. But
I
do think of like the Boston Celtics. I like that white home uniform. That's what I want to see the Boston Celtics in. Certain teams, that's their uniform.
Well, maybe they will do that. I mean, for me, the most iconic white uniform in basketball is not even an NBA uniform. It's UCLA.
Yeah.
For me.
But by the way, guess what? Hockey, they all do
color,
it now.
All the
they
time.
wear their road uniform at home, the dark colors.
Let's take a break. Coming up, what's the word for the dueling home runs last night between Bryce Harper and Mike Trout?
And is it appropriate for Jay Cutler to call the Bears season opener?
I'm wearing my badge. I just want to remind the people in the lobby.
I got a day one. I don't know if they're taking it away
badges?
from me.
We don't need no stinking badges. Frank Isola has written millions of words in his lifetime, but can he pick great ones when going head-to-head with an English major? Huh? Let's find out. What's first?
Clayton Kershaw has been on a blank roll.
Annual. The Dodgers have won Clayton Kershaw's last 14 starts.
They never lose.
Kershaw's 11-0 in that period of time with a 1.62 ERA. That's extraordinary numbers. But every year, Kershaw hits a stretch where he goes like 7-0 with an 0.65 ERA. I'm very careful. When I want to say that Max Scherzer's the best pitcher in baseball, I always say today Max Scherzer might be, because Clayton Kershaw is the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, Kershaw's great, and then the playoffs start.
Not so much.
But it's a little bit different. I'm going to say Koufaxian, just to get you going.
Okay.
But you know what's amazing about him, what I love? He started the final game before the All-Star break. Then they gave him 9 days off. It was smart by Dave Roberts. You don't have him pitch in the All-Star game. And that extra rest, he even said he was rusty, and he throws a shutout last night. He had pitched 132 innings before the break. That was the most in the majors. Smart play by them to give him some rest. You mentioned
Koufax is the right comparison, because if you're going to be the greatest lefty of all time, that you got to go through the Mount Sandy Koufax, and we'll see if he can do that.
By the way, Kershaw, Alex Wood, the Dodgers have not lost a game that they have started since May 1st. It's an incredible run they've been on.
Next.
Bryce Harper should feel blank about Mike Trout answering his homer last night.
He should feel roaried. This was so great last night. In the top of the first, Harper hits it out, and Trout watches it go out. And in the bottom of the first, Trout comes back, hits one out 40 feet further into the stands than Harper did. And this reminded me of when Rory McIlroy had a birdie against Patrick Reed in a Ryder Cup, and Patrick Reed right on top of him had a birdie and celebrated like a wild man. Now, it is true that Harper won the war here because he had 4 hits and his team won, but Mike Trout won that battle.
Well, I would say that he should be unconcerned about it. I keep waiting for you. I guess you think I'm going to give you a basketball analogy. You gave me a golf one. Here's the thing about Bryce Harper. He went 4 for 4.
Yeah, played
hit
great.
A triple. And by the way, I know you didn't like this. He actually dove into third base on the triple, so hopefully that's okay with you.
Because as I remember, he was called out trying for a double early in the game.
All right, but he had a triple.
Yeah.
And all right, so he went 4 for 4. His team is always in the playoffs. Trout's been in the playoffs just one time. Here's
sad. Hashtag sad.
And
they
by the way,
be in more.
Bryce Harper, keeping with the NBA theme of resting, not going to play tonight. Going to give him the day off.
Well, he had a great game.
All right.
Next.
The Tigers got a blank return for J.D. Martinez.
The word is slammed. Martinez is killing the ball. He's batting .474 against lefties. His OPS against lefties is 1.661, which is astonishing. And here's what the Tigers got back. They got back a bag of beans. They got 3 infield prospects from a minor league system that everybody rates as All the reviews are terrible. They say they didn't get anything. What the Tigers will tell you is they didn't think they could keep him in free agency. I think they gave up.
You know what? I think it's better than nothing. And they got a top 5, top 15 prospect from the Diamondbacks. Now, granted, the Diamondbacks farm system is
rated very poorly. Rated poorly.
But they got something back for a guy that they weren't going to re-sign, who's going to be a free agent. July 31st is right around the corner. They had to make some kind of move. I'll tell you what, it's a great pickup from the Diamondbacks. All those stats you gave, that's first in the majors against lefties. Slugging percentage, on-base percentage, and batting.
So you don't think that you even try in the offseason to convince him? Because when he was interviewed, he said, I love this organization. I love Detroit. I think of myself as a Detroit player.
Was he going to give them
a
hometown discount?
I don't know.
No,
this is the stuff I don't know.
That's probably what they know.
Next.
Last one. It's blank. The Jay Cutler will reportedly call the Bears season opener.
Listen carefully. It's fantastic.
Yes.
Here is the guy who is the most unpopular quarterback in the history of the Chicago Bears, according to Wilbon. Wilbon says he can't even go into a restaurant in Chicago. And now he is going to get the opportunity to criticize his former team and evaluate the quarterbacks who took his place, Mike Glennon, and number 1 pick, Mitch Trubisky, who Wilbon hates more than Cutler right now. I sense a drinking game in the offing. I love this.
You said fantastic. You almost stole my word. It's Wilbon baiting.
Well,
it's to get him all fired up. And that's why it's such a great thing. Cutler, to talk about the Bears quarterback situation, how Glennon is, Trubisky, I agree with you 100%. That's a smart, whoever made that decision, it's a smart move.
I am surprised that both Romo and Cutler have left to go into broadcasting. I am surprised. I certainly thought Romo would take another shot. Are you surprised at this?
You know what it is? They didn't want to get to the point where they're getting injured. They can't even walk anymore. I think it's a smart thing to do. Now's the time to do it. Plus, anybody could broadcast football games. It's actually easy.
You know what?
I get my tryout next year.
Ask your guy, Goose Gossage, how he feels about this. That's it. Let's take one last break. Still to come, what does Kyrie Irving mean when he says the Cavs are in a, quote, peculiar place, unquote?
And Bruce Arena called up some stars for tonight's game against El Salvador. Tony's going to tell you, is the game really that important?
What I'm going to tell you is Bruce Arena's a Long Island boy.
That's right.
And so I root for him. That's
right.
what I'm going to tell
Lacrosse guy, too.
Lacrosse. Went to Cornell as well. And played lacrosse and soccer, I think. Yeah.
He knows.
I do.
Follow sports.
Long Island. Come on.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Happy time, people. Happy 32nd birthday, LaMarcus Aldridge. It was considered a great coup when the Spurs got Aldridge as a free agent from Portland. Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard seemed like a way to beat Golden State, but Aldridge came up small this season in the postseason, averaging only 16 points and 7 rebounds, a significant drop from last year's playoffs. And the Warriors swept San Antonio. But happy birthday and better luck next year.
He doesn't seem like a Spurs player. Don't be shocked if he doesn't get traded between now and the start of training camp.
Whoa. Happy anniversary, Rich Cho. On this day 7 years ago, you were hired to be the general manager of the Blazers, becoming the first Asian-American GM in NBA history. After lasting only one season in Portland, Trader Cho, as they call him, which is a great nickname, was scooped up by Michael Jordan for Charlotte. This offseason, Cho took a risk by trading for Dwight Howard, but he won the annual NBA Summer League ping pong tournament.
Guess what? He was an intern with Seattle. His father, a former journalist.
I didn't know that.
Kid went on to bigger and better things.
Happy trails are Monty Bryant. The defensive end for the Detroit Lions was suspended 4 games for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. This is apparently the 3rd time in 10 months that this dope has been popped. This is heading into Manziel territory. Perhaps he has a problem of some sort.
And you know what? When he plays, he actually does well. Last year, 5 games, 3 sacks. Stay on the field somehow.
Well, that's
Stay out of trouble.
Right. If he couldn't play, Detroit would say, see you later. But
Exactly.
because he can play, they're going to wait and they're going to wait and they're going to wait. But 3 times in less than a year?
The NFL's the one saying, see you later.
That's not good. One error. Apparently, I referenced the Cubs as a second team in a city. I meant the White Sox.
Wilbon called
and you
in.
knew that, so cut me some slack, okay? It's the second city, but the second
you
team
go.
there is the Chicago White Sox. Let's go to the big finish. Kyrie Irving told Sports Illustrated the Cavs are in, and I quote now, a peculiar place right now.
And this comes after
What does that
LeBron,
mean?
like, whining about it. They're going to the playoffs. They're going to be in the finals next year. They're still the best team.
But what
in the
does that mean? What does that mean, peculiar place?
I don't know what that means, because I don't have Kevin Durant, I guess. All right, Bartolo Colon says he might retire if he doesn't have a good start against the Dodgers. Does that make sense?
No. First of all, he's been in the majors for 45 years. He should stay as long as he can. But you never evaluate anything as a pitcher by going against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are the hottest team in baseball. Why would you say, if I don't do well against them, I'm out? You're not going to do well against them. Dikembe Mutombo wants to put a group together to buy the Rockets. You think he has a shot?
No. That's too much money. Dikembe Mutombo has got that type of chump change laying around?
I
That
don't
seems
know.
like way too much money. All right, Stephon Marbury, Tony's favorite player, will play one last season in China, but for a different team in Beijing. Is that a big deal?
Well, I didn't know his other team in Beijing, but I know his career in China is better than it was here. There's a statue of him, and they wrote a musical about him. So
He's had a great... Let me ask you this. Do you think he's a Hall of Famer based on what he's done in China?
worldwide, he might be. Last one, USA versus El Salvador in the Gold Cup quarterfinals tonight. That's an easy
You know what?
win, right?
We called in some of the A players to go with the B players, kind of like maybe this show.
You're the A player.
There we go.
We're out of time. Try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
And I'm Frank Isola. Thanks for watching. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple
Good night,
Podcast.
Canada. It's 100 degrees here. I wish I was in
18.
Canada.